Oof, I am so nervous right now. I don't know why. Okay, is it even? Okay, hold up. Hey guys, so it's me, Nona, and
Algae.
welcome to the first live of the Nona and Algae Talk Show. Today's episode, we wanted to go over our college experience, maybe ask each other some questions, and probably give some tips and all that good stuff. So let's get on started. Let's do it.
Let's do it, y'all. Come on with it.
Let's do it. Do you want to go ahead and ask me first?
Yes. So, what was your life like when you first started college? How was it for you?
So at first, I did not know initially what I wanted to do, and it took maybe a couple weeks to really warm up to the whole, college environment and getting a feel for my classes. And I think over time, after speaking to a counselor, a couple of times, I realized, oh yeah, I think psychology is pretty interesting. So I decided to major in that, and the counselor kind of gave me, an academic plan, and from there, it's like I had some direction. But that's not even talking about, the very first time, like when I was about to enter college, because I knew for a fact, like, yeah, I have no choice but to go to college. Okay. It was kind of an expectation in my family, and it is really valued to have a high education, at least up to college. So it was expected. So I didn't feel that nervous, but I think I only felt unsure rather than nervous because I didn't know what to major in. But then it wasn't until, like I said, I took a couple of psychology classes, talked to a counselor, and from there, I just followed the academic plan. I'm like, why not? And then associate's degree. So there's that. And that was just to quickly summarize how that was like for me when I transitioned from high school to college. I didn't want to go too off, out of tangent and stuff. So I want to go ahead and ask Algie, how was that like for you?
For me, I started at a very young age. I first started college when I was 17 years old. I was nervous and I was scared because it was so much responsibility on being independent.
Yeah.
So when you're 17 years old, you don't really understand about being independent. Mm-hmm. So when I first went to Chaffey College, I took a couple classes, like an English class, a history class, and a math class.
Yeah.
So at first, I was like, oh, I'm not too sure about it. Oh, how's this going to work out? But what helped me was going to the Success Center. And I just kept going and kept doing it again and again and again and asking a bunch of questions, right? And then after that, later on semesters, I kept adding on more classes. So then I felt more comfortable after that. And then this past May, I graduated. I got 2 associate's degrees and a certificate.
Woohoo!
And I'm very proud of myself because it was pretty much like during a similar situation, it was a huge expectation to go to college. And not a lot of people finish college. So I was like, you know what? I need to finish. I got so much to do in my life. I got to finish this goal. So I just kept my eyes on the goal,
eyes on the prize,
on Jesus, and boom, it just happened.
Yay! We literally had our own struggles trying to get used to the whole college type of, thing. Because in high school, you have everything given to you. But when it comes to college, it's like you're kind of on your own. Like that's when you need to be more of an adult. And that did not hit me easily because I was so used to procrastinating back in high school. It didn't hit me until I did not do well on the first test in college.
Wow.
The very first test. And I would have to say that was math because I'm really not good at math. So, fun fact, I'm not so good at math. That's actually my weakest subject. And yeah, I'm not going to go too crazy now. But
same here. I would say the same exact thing. Math is not my strongest either. Like that was a huge struggle for me. I started from the bottom math class and I worked my way up all the way to the top. So what I did was the constant study for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
And then constant practicing. You know what I'm saying? Like asking other people, like, hey, look, what's your study strategy? What's your study strategy? How you do this? How you do that? So that I could feel more comfortable being independent and doing stuff on my own.
Yeah.
So, and not giving up.
Yeah. Okay, there's one thing to be like, I can't do this right now, but it's another thing to just completely just stop.
Exactly.
Because we do have those moments where we want to like just go down the easy route. Like, why do I have to go through all this pain and like struggling right now? But then again, it really does help you develop the skills you need in the future. It really helps you realize that you are stronger than you think.
Yes.
And you have resilience.
Yes.
So that's a big one. Yeah.
I totally agree with you right there, because I remember, especially 2 years ago, I felt like my back was up against the wall because there was so many prerequisite classes. And I don't think a lot of people understand is that when it says 2-year college, it's not really a 2-year college. It's more kind of like a 4-year college, because it's so many prerequisite classes that you have to take before you get to your major classes that you do need to graduate. And a lot of people are not telling the truth on that. So for my experience, I was like, okay, I'm going to take these classes. And it's past 2 years. Why am I not getting my degree? It's because there's so many of these prerequisite classes that they offered that you had to take that was mandatory at Chafee. So I was like, okay, clearly this is not a 2-year college. It's more like a 4-year. So.
Yeah, because here's the thing. When it comes down to GEs, there's so many random ones sometimes that you're like, oh, I haven't even gotten to my prereqs yet. But it feels like you are lagging. It feels like, oh man, I could be done right now. But like, there's just so many other classes that you don't even see, like, why do I need it in the first place, right?
Right.
But then again, it's like trying to climb up stairs one step at a time. Or just climbing up a ladder. Because then you might start from the bottom and you just work your way up, but then eventually you can reach the top. And then fast forward, and then, we finally graduated with our diplomas, and I'm really proud to say that we both successfully made it through. We did not give up, and I think that's one thing, even if you don't go to college, even if you that's not your plan, because not everyone is going to college. Not everyone wants to go to college, or not everyone feels like they're forced to, because it seems like it really depends on your situation. So we have no right to judge whatsoever, because everyone's life is different. But yes, this makes you realize that you can do it, regardless whether it's for a job, whether it's for, a hobby, whether it's for, volunteering and stuff like that. It makes you realize that you have something in you that you don't even realize until you overcome those challenges, overcome those obstacles. And yes, you might struggle now, but then you just, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. So I just say it like that, and makes you realize that you are stronger than you think.
Exactly. And also to add on to that is to find the right people to actually think like you, to actually help you to graduate, like as in to help you guide you to the right area.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people will actually say, oh yeah, I go to class, but are you actually serious about like what you're going to school for? And so many people will actually like to party and drink and all kinds of stuff.
It is part of the college life, especially if you aren't living with your parents, if you are not off campus. But if you're in campus, it's like, okay, that stuff might happen to you. I mean, you are in an environment in which people are kind of like away from their parents. Like, they feel like they can do whatever they want. And I mean, we all probably went through some kind of phase like that. But like for me, because I did mostly community college and just like private college or whatever, I had to live at home basically. I mean, I couldn't possibly afford to live off campus. So I didn't exactly have that whole college life experience,
I would say, you know what, it's still kind of like a little bit similar, because I wanted to ask you, how was it for you? Like, how did you made it out of college when it comes to finances?
Ooh.
Like,
okay.
Like budgeting, like what's your budgeting like style? Like, what did you do?
Now for me, I think in the middle of college, the very first college I went, I don't know if I was really working at the time, like part-time. So I had to depend on my parents, okay? But the thing is, I mean, I'm not going to get carried away just because, like, mom can just pay for my credit card bill and be like, okay, let me just do that. No.
Right.
You still have to learn the fundamentals of budgeting, saving, basic stuff like that. But for me, because I already knew, like, this is not my money. Now I'm not going to be, like, here thinking, like, yeah, she can afford to pay for my school, because that's just not how it works, okay?
Right.
So, yeah, I did learn that, budgeting is key, and, like, do not live above your means. When it comes to paying for textbooks, find other ways. If you can rent it for cheaper than purchasing it, do that. Because then whatever you want to do, you want to kind of, like, stretch the bill. See, the little things like that, when you have that mentality and you just think, I'm not an expert in finance stuff, by the way, I'm not an accountant, disclaimer. But it's just the basic stuff. Like, you have to be, like, realistic. Can you afford this book versus this book? And if they're the same ISBN number or the code number, like the correct number, whatever, if you can find a site that can offer, the same book but at a cheaper price, you're already one step closer to, like, saving. So it's like just the little things, the little actions you make, it can make such a big difference.
That's true. That's true.
So, like, I don't think budgeting as, like, I'm calculating, oh, don't spend this right now, or don't spend over 20 today, or blah, blah. I didn't even do the math like that. It was more like, let me just make wiser choices financially. And then over, I think, the span of a week up to a month, I started to compare, did I spend more this month versus last month? And then that's where I can see the adjustment that might need to be, incorporated.
What about the savings part? Because sometimes you could see a difference, but then sometimes you gotta spend for another class. So how did you, like, really truly, like, budget and save for, like, a certain semester?
Oh, you probably had a more straightforward plan. But for me, it was helpful to kind of go to my dad for this stuff, because he had kind of written out, like, an estimate of what I should be spending per week, kind of thing. And it gave me an idea. And I like I mentioned, like, I just have to make wiser choices, even if I don't know all the calculations and all that, because I'm really not that good at that stuff. But it's good to, seek financial advice from people who literally have gone through college. It helps too, because then if they had to go through college and they had to learn how to budget and save, you kind of go to those type of people, maybe get an idea. And it's even helpful if you have parents that kind of, give you that advice. But if you, whoever you feel like you can talk to regarding that stuff, it gives you a better idea of how you should budget and save. So that's with me. I mean, like, just an estimate.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have specific numbers that I have to be reaching, but it's more like just try not to exceed over this number, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
How about you, though? Because I'm curious.
For me, I'm a firm believer on living below your means. Okay.
Yeah.
So when it came to the college books are so expensive, very, very expensive, right? And for me, I literally tried my hardest to find different ways to find the best book for your budget. So sometimes some classes will say, oh, well, you could buy your book brand new or buy it used.
Yes.
A lot of times, the used books are cheaper. Not for all my classes, but some of my classes that were, like, not that big of a deal, I would buy the used books that cost half the cost on the retail books.
Me too.
Because retail books be like, what? Sometimes two. I remember this one class I took, it was like almost $200-$300. So I was like, okay, we're going to try to find a different way to do it. So if you go to the bookstore, your local bookstore at your college, you could really ask somebody, like, hey, look, do you know a cheaper way to get a book? Because sometimes people are actually selling them for cheap.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people don't know that. And some people are actually advertising that they're selling their books. And sometimes, one class I took for an English class, my professor made an announcement that somebody's selling a textbook for, like, let's say $40 or $50, for example. Yeah. So it's like, oh my gosh, like, that's a good deal. I always try to find different ways to save money the best as possible when it comes to textbooks. Because, it's a lot when it comes to college. You got to pay for the parking pass, and the books and the classes and all this other stuff, right? But what I always try to do is, if this is my budget, I'm gonna stick to this budget. I'm not gonna go over. So I'm gonna try my hardest to get it under. If I can't get under, cool. But if it's in my budget, okay, I'll just pay for it.
Yeah.
And then just call it a day. But then this is what I also do. What I picked up on is right after the class is over, sell those books that you bought so you could get the money back, so that you can use it for other things.
Yeah.
So, and for FYI, I did not have financial aid. So I did other things. Yeah, I didn't have financial aid. So I did other things to get money back. So I'll just sell books like constantly every semester, just sell it. Because that's the other way that I could use for other things that whatever I want to use it for.
Yeah. I forgot to mention, actually, I was on financial aid when I got to nursing school, because I know I had to go to a private college or a university. It's a university now. But yeah, I had to take out, I think, half. So like I could pay out of pocket half of it and the other would be a loan. I don't know if anyone has experienced that, but if you do, just let us know. But yeah, I think that was my only experience with that, and now I have to start paying back my loan, I think, before the end of this year. At least I break it up per month. So there's this whole plan thing that you can pay, let's say, 100 something per month. It's going towards, your full loan repayment. So you just make sure you consistently pay that number each month, and that's how that would work. But then in terms of like loans in general, yeah, it makes you realize, I cannot afford to like go above.
Yeah. So my cool question is, have you ever been around anybody that will give financial aid but use it the wrong way and try to influence you to do it their way, and it's not working out? Has that ever happened to you before?
It's funny because I would hear stories about that, but I don't know anyone personally, especially because I mentioned that I only had to take out like half a loan probably for the nursing school. So like I didn't personally speak to anyone regarding that matter, and I don't think anyone really disclosed that type of information with me. But
really,
no, I don't know anyone personally. But Algie, you probably have something to say.
For me, like some people at the college I went to are very vocal, like very vocal. Mind you, I don't even know these people half the time, right?
Yeah.
Some of them were very vocal, as in be like, "Oh, I get financial aid," and sometimes I'm like, "I didn't ask that, but okay." And half the time, like they will take financial aid and buy Louis Vuitton bags and spend $200-300 on makeup, knowing that they cannot afford to pay for their classes or anything else, and spending so much money on Jordans and the newest iPhone, the newest this, the newest that, and then complain how they don't have the money for their priorities. I found it kind of funny because I'm like, okay, for me, I know how to stretch out a dollar. So if I was in a bad situation, I would not do that. I would take the financial aid money, use it if I have to. I'll use it like it's a bank loan, okay? Yeah. Use that money if you really truly have to, right? And budget how much you want to take out. Then I'm going to make sure for my car, I'm going to make sure I have gas. I'm going to make sure I do oil change, check my brakes, and other stuff, groceries, stuff that what people are supposed to do with their money. Mm-hmm. And I remember in certain classes, like people tried to tell them, "Oh, take a financial aid money and go get the new iPhone," because that's what I did. Passing on that kind of stuff, and it's like that's not helping. It's like that's not wise. It's like budget. Slow down when it comes to stuff. Because at the end of the day, all just Apple stuff, whoever else is out there is going to be refurbished. So that's like how I see it. That's my experience.
Your experience is quite juicy compared to mine.
Right.
It's just that the thing is, when like you're not in a regular college versus nursing school, because these people like know that like medical school in general and nursing school is not cheap. Okay. So they have to be so serious and be so particular what loans they're going to take out. because they know damn well, like, you have to pay this as soon as you can, because you don't want, that interest to start building up monthly, and that thing can pile up like crazy, and I don't want to mention it more. But I'm just saying, like, they have to realize that, this is not a joke. Like, I'm here to complete, the 2-year program, or if it's a bachelor, it'll be like a 4-year. And if they have to figure out their loans and all that stuff, they're not gonna just throw it away like that. They know they have to pay that back right away. Because then again, you're borrowing.
Right.
It's a loan. They're loaning it, right? Same concept.
Correct.
Yeah. Correct. But okay, want to move on to the next quick topic? It's already like 20 minutes in. That's insane. How about this? Transition to online during COVID, the lockdown last year.
Ooh. Okay. For me, I had to learn how to manage my time and to be patient when it comes to waiting for your professor to respond back to you. Because there was so many students, I had to remind myself that's not just me, that's online, and so many other students. What I really truly did was I went to my professor's office hours and also study groups to help me. Because when it first happened, I was like, I don't know how to work Zoom. What is Zoom? Zoom what? No, I ain't doing that. So I basically had to learn how to do stuff online because I never took an online class before. So after that, I just really had to be patient with myself and to be very independent. So I studied by myself half the time before I did my study group, because at a certain point I was doing my assignments by myself. So if I had any questions, I would try an email in the Zoom, like, in the Zoom you could chat or whatever, and ask people, hey, well, do you know how to do this? Can we form a study group if I have any questions? If that did not work, I would just go to my professor's office hours, and then that really truly just helped me out personally. Yeah. It was a huge adjustment because it's not the same. Like in person, you get to pay your classes on time. You get to ask any questions that you want to, not feel hesitate to ask. You get to be around other people. And then when you're at home alone doing all these assignments, it's just like you and the computer. What about for you? How was the experience for you to transition?
Yeah, it was already difficult enough because everyone has different office hours. My professors don't always have the same schedule as you. I mean, it makes sense. They have their own lives as well. So we had to really coordinate our schedules frequently, because there'd be some times where you don't want to exactly ask a question during class because maybe you're a little bit like timid, or you're just hesitant to ask in front of everyone there. So it's like, you know how they say, like, just speak to me after class, but it's like, do I have time after class kind of thing? Because sometimes classes can go on really long and you're like, maybe I should just set up a time with you type of thing. But then the time that we want to do won't always work with the time for the professor. So like the whole office hour thing was already a challenge enough. But yeah, I had to learn that, we could email, we can do what we can to just, still have the communication. People can still get back to you, you know what I mean? But it was a struggle at first, having to kind of deal with the fact that your schedule might not complement the professors. Like, you might have to sacrifice some time in your day that you'd rather not do that, like, let's say when it's like dinner time or something. Yeah. But, for them, that's what worked for them. So it's like we just had to learn how to kind of deal with putting our professors' office hours first. It was a kind of a big deal. It was a really big deal. And again, the whole communication on Zoom, talking to our classmates. And sometimes there'd be those things that when the audio, you think it's on and it's not. Yeah. That was a whole issue. So you can't really talk, you can't present on there easily. Sometimes the video lags if they're loading a video. That's another issue. If they want you to watch something and the video suddenly like doesn't work, or it's loading or taking a while, that's a big one. And I'd say another one would be like, not everyone looks at the chat, especially, if you have a question right there and then, because you know how the chats can go by like really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like when you have an immediate question to ask, I find myself getting ignored. I'm not gonna lie. So like I have to re-ask, and that's what made the whole thing a little bit complicated. I'm not gonna lie, but I had realized that, you know what, yeah, they're not gonna always get to you, and I'm sure they're trying to read as fast as they can. At least the professors, right? But then there are ways, like you can, you know, call them, email. Some of them are cool. You could just text them, be like, sorry, but my Zoom's a little laggy. I mean, but here's the assignment for proof. You know what I mean? So there are little ways, there are little things we can do to make the Zoom or WebEx conference experience less of a drag or less painful. So it was hard. It was hard. But I think over time, I think after a few weeks into the lockdown, I got used to it, probably.
Yeah. It's an adjustment. It's a huge adjustment. And
yeah, it really is.
Yourself, that's going to be okay.
Yeah, it totally is. And you have to be very willing and patient to just go with it.
Right.
To just go with it. I think the last thing we should probably talk about is tips.
Okay. Well, let me ask you first. What is your tips for college? What is your tips that you use?
Okay, what I first of all had to fix was my procrastination. Do not do that. It is not worth it. It's not worth the stress, not worth the anxiety. You might find yourself overwhelmed because, first of all, if you're taking multiple classes, the last thing you want is to push all those assignments back.
Exactly.
So I'd say number one, do not procrastinate. Number two, if you don't know what your study method is, start figuring that out, because it's better to do it earlier on when the assignments aren't piling up on you like yet. You know what I mean? Like crazy?
Right.
Than to wait almost towards midterms to figure out your study method. So for me, now this is like mostly during online, because majority of my nursing school experience was online. So what I had to do was I look at the ebook, because they provide ebooks through the school. And I highlighted stuff. And what I did was whatever I highlighted, I try to type notes on a separate Word document and just try to summarize what I can and kind of go from there and just reread it every single day of the 2 weeks prior to the exam. And that's what helped me retain the information longer rather than feel like, oh, I should cram it within 2 days, because that did not end well for me when I did that. So that's my other tip. I think another one would be listen to those video or audio recordings or lectures.
Yeah.
Because there are some things that they might forget to mention on the actual or live, classroom. So it's better to just kind of compare what they're saying on the recording and the live. So that way, if you need to add more notes based on, what they said on the live versus the actual recording, you could just add that into your Word document, save it, and then just go back to it and read it.
That's true. That's true. That's
and then you.
For me, it was going to my professor's office hours and using that time. Because sometimes, like how you said before, I would not always be there on time. They have their own lives too. So really, truly try your hardest to stay up, even if you are tired. Stay up.
That's hard,
get that
yeah.
work done. That's what you got to think about, getting the work done. Try to find a study group that is really, truly helpful for you, and really, truly watch and choose who you have a study group with.
Yeah.
Because some people have their own personal problems and pass on the negativity. So you have to be mindful of that. And also, I would say, find different ways to study and study at your own pace. And manage your own time at your own pace. Budget your time with your other classes so that you have time to go back and read or whatever else that you need to do with your other classes. Those are my tips.
Awesome. And those are all really helpful tips. Now, everyone works differently, so we're not trying to suggest that these tips are going to really help you get straight A's. That's not what we're trying to say here. But we're really sharing what works for us, and I think it's a good start. Because then I think ultimately you might find what works for you that probably didn't work for us, and vice versa. So.
Yeah, good helpful tips.
Yep. And I think that's it for the last question, I believe.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's been 30 minutes, so.
Oh, wow.
It goes by really quickly because we had issues with publishing the actual video that we have done yesterday. And we were so, like, I don't know. I don't even want to go into how stressed we were.
We were very stressful, but you know what? We're finding different outlets to try to get YouTube back online for our channel back. It's been so long, you guys, since that we've done this YouTube channel. So we want to get it back up and going. We've spent a lot of hours doing this, okay? And use our time wisely for doing this for y'all because we want to be helpful as any ways possible.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all I can say.
I know. But if anyone did not have time to watch our live, it's all good because we can share the link. It'll be in our bios on our Instagram if you guys are curious of what the link is, or if you didn't feel like searching it up, but it's all good. But yeah, I hope you guys found this pretty helpful or interesting in any way. Algie?
So I want you guys to stay blessed, stay focused, and you can do it and believe in yourself.
Yes, you heard him. And stay tuned, like, comment, stuff for more content like this. And if you guys want to see more of us, we are hoping to put out our own videos pretty soon. That'd be kind of cool. Our own individual videos where it's not exactly like talk show, because it seems like it's going to be a lot harder for us to post up our talk show episodes without doing live instead. So what we're planning to do is post our own, intro video, get to know us a little bit more.
Right.
What's the other one? Like motivation,
fitness, health, just really positivity.
I agree.
And wanting to show people love and support no matter what anybody else goes through. Is that to use our positive videos and to use it with your everyday life. That's the main purpose of us getting our YouTube channel back again.
I
we want us and other people to be always positive and to stay motivated and stay focused on your own personal goal, whatever it is. So that's the main thing.
That's right. So I hope you guys enjoyed this random live episode thing because we didn't get to publish it, but it's all good. Stay tuned for more.
Bye, you guys.
Bye. Take care.